In a small mountain village where the clouds hung low and time moved slower, lived a boy named Wren. He wasn't remarkable, at least not to others. He helped his father stack firewood, studied by candlelight, and never missed a morning chore. He wasn't the strongest, the fastest, or the loudest, but he was there, always showing up. While others dreamed big and shouted their plans, Wren worked quietly. People didn't notice him much. Some even laughed. "He'll always be average," they'd say. But Wren didn't listen, not because he was stubborn, but because he wasn't looking for approval. There was something about the quiet, the way it let him hear what others missed. Every night he climbed a small hill outside the village and looked up at the stars. He didn't wish for greatness. He just wondered how far steady steps could take him. No one else climbed that hill. No one else waited in the silence. But Wren kept going, even when no one was watching. As the years slipped by, Wren's life remained steady, but quiet. Others left the village, seeking opportunity, shouting goals into crowded cities. Wren stayed. He chopped wood, read quietly, climbed the hill alone. People began to whisper. "He's wasting time," they said. Even his father asked, "Are you sure this is enough?" Wren didn't answer. He didn't know. There were nights he questioned himself, nights the climb felt pointless. "Am I falling behind?" he wondered. When he looked around, he saw no applause, no progress he could measure, the same village, the same stars. He began to feel invisible. "Maybe I've misunderstood what success looks like," he thought. Doubt became a quiet shadow, walking beside him. It didn't scream, it just waited. He still climbed the hill, but now he carried questions instead of peace. He still looked at the stars, but now he wasn't sure if they were looking back. One foggy morning, Wren reached the hilltop and paused. Someone was already there, a man wrapped in an old cloak watching the horizon. Wren hesitated. The man turned slowly and smiled. "Still climbing?" he asked. Wren nodded. "But I don't know why anymore." The man sat on a rock and gestured. "Join me." Wren sat. For minutes they said nothing. Then the man spoke again. "You're not lost. You're just early." Wren looked confused. Early for what? The man didn't answer. He pointed to a tree barely growing on the rocky slope. "It's slow now, but one day it'll bloom so fast it'll seem sudden. People will call it luck. They'll forget the quiet climb." Wren looked at the tree. He'd passed it many times but never really seen it. "So I keep going?" The man smiled again. "If the hill calls you, answer." Then he stood and left without another word. If stories like this make you stop and think, subscribe, hit the bell, and don't miss what might change your path next. The next morning, Wren climbed the hill alone. The traveler was gone, but his words echoed. At the same bend, Wren stopped by the tree, small, stubborn, rooted in stone. He crouched beside it, noticing its struggle, how it leaned toward the sun, how its leaves clung to life. He brought water from the stream below, poured it gently at its base. Day after day, he returned, cleared stones, pulled weeds, shielded it from goats. He didn't know why, it just felt right. The villagers mocked him. "You think that tree will make you a man?" they said. Wren didn't argue. He just showed up. Seasons passed. The tree barely changed. But something in Wren did. The act became a ritual, a promise, not to the tree, but to the climb, the effort, the quiet care. One day he noticed the roots had deepened. The leaves stood taller, not much, but enough. Enough to remind him, slow is still growing, still becoming, still rising. One morning Wren climbed the hill and stopped in his tracks. The tree was blooming. Small white blossoms clung to its branches, stretching toward the morning sun. It hadn't happened overnight, but it felt like it. Years of quiet effort, unnoticed by anyone, now revealed in a burst of color. Word spread. Villagers came to see. "When did this happen?" they asked. Wren just smiled. Slowly, then suddenly. Some nodded, some didn't understand. But Wren knew the truth. He had watched it survive storms, frost, drought. He had protected it, fed it, believed in it when no one else did. The bloom wasn't magic, it was momentum. And in that moment, Wren realized success doesn't always announce itself. It grows in silence, behind the scenes, until one day it becomes visible to everyone. And by then it's no longer about being seen, it's about knowing what it took to get there. And knowing you were always becoming. The tree continued to bloom each spring. Wren still climbed the hill, but the climb felt different now. He didn't search for signs or hope for change. He simply came, day by day, step by step, not for the result, but for the rhythm. Villagers who once mocked him now nodded in quiet respect. Some followed him up the path, curious. "How did you know it would work?" they'd ask. Wren would smile. "I didn't. I just stayed." The tree became more than a tree. It became a symbol of patience, of showing up, of trusting time. Some villagers brought water. Others sat beside it in silence. Children touched the blossoms like magic. Wren watched but didn't take credit. He wasn't a leader, just someone who listened long enough to keep going. And as the seasons turned, the tree stood taller, stronger, not because it fought harder, but because it had been rooted deeper. Quiet growth, silent strength, success not loud, but earned. Years passed. The tree grew stronger. Wren's hair grayed, but he still climbed the hill every morning. Fewer villagers mocked him now. Some brought their children and pointed to the tree. "That's what patience becomes," they'd say. Wren didn't speak much. He didn't need to. His climb had become more than habit. It was his rhythm, his truth. He no longer feared going unnoticed. He no longer craved quick results. The tree had taught him what grows slow grows strong, and what's strong doesn't need to shout. One afternoon, a young boy climbed beside him and asked, "Was it hard?" Wren smiled. "Only when I wanted it to be fast." The boy nodded, sat beside him, and they watched the wind play with the blossoms. In that quiet, Wren realized something else. He hadn't just grown a tree. He'd grown a life, rooted, steady, honest. And it wasn't fame or fortune, it was peace. One final spring, Wren didn't climb the hill. His knees had grown weak, his breath short. But from his window he could still see the tree, taller than ever, blossoms swaying. A new boy now climbed each morning carrying water. Wren watched, smiled, and said nothing. The hill no longer needed him, but it remembered him. The climb had become a part of the village's rhythm, of its memory. And even as his body slowed, Wren's spirit remained rooted, strong, still. He closed his eyes often now, listening to the wind. And sometimes it sounded like applause, not from crowds, but from life itself, for the quiet, the effort, the presence. The boy climbed, the tree bloomed, and Wren, resting in silence, had no regrets. He'd lived slowly, but fully, without shortcuts, without noise, just steady steps. And now, as you sit with this story, ask yourself, Are you climbing because it's right, or just because someone told you to?